Hey, everybody. It is the Fanboy Planet podcast. Welcome. And I'm Derek McCaw, editor in chief of fanboyplanet.com, and I am surrounded by comics. And of course, in the Sanctum Sanctorum, we got to come up with it. It can't be the Brett Cave then. Is it the Brectum Brectorum?
I think you're getting a little touchy there.
Brettum Schneiderum? I don't know. Anyway.
It's my man cave.
Okay. Well, we're both in the different versions of our man
The
cave.
man sanctum.
Neither of which actually looks like we are the way we are presenting it to be, but that's fine.
Sure.
So
I'm Rick Red Snyder.
Yeah, there we go. And welcome everybody watching this live, and of course anybody watching this after the fact. Of course, you can join the conversation.
I want to do a test. This is a live test. It'll either fail or it'll be very short.
I don't know if you want this answer.
Looking out at the cars, Renaissance fest. Watch animated chicks with inflatable breasts. You might be a Trekkie.
Okay.
It was audible. That was, of course, the great Luke Ski, which reminds me that I'm behind on reviewing a book I picked up at Season Screamings. It was illustrated by Luke Ski, I've been in contact with the author. It was Wally Wingert, he's very much crossed over into our world because he is the voice. Basically, this is a weird thing to say. I think he's the world's foremost impersonator of Frank Gorshin, who was himself an impressionist before he was the Riddler. So he's the guy that does the Riddler when they need a Frank Gorshin voice, as well as he's the Riddler in the Arkham Asylum games. So anyway, met up with him in December, and we're going to do something. I don't know what exactly yet, but dropping all these things. And if you are watching after the fact, as I was going to say, you can, of course, join the conversation by writing in. If you've got questions, comments, compliments, commentary, criticism, write into editor@fanboyplanet.com. If you are watching this on Facebook, because we're going Facebook Live right now, as well as YouTube, you can, if you haven't followed us on the Facebook page, Facebook at Fanboy Planet, as well. You can follow us on Twitter at Fanboy Planet and Instagram at Fanboy Planet. And anything we talk about that, if we talk about books or so forth that you'd like to purchase for your very own, and you cannot find it at your local brick and mortar store, we do have Amazon links on the page and on the site. We are Amazon affiliated, so any purchase you made might result in a small bounty back here, a bit of revenue to help defray the cost of running the site and running StreamYard. It's the membership cost. It ain't free, but it's fun. So let's get to that conversation. Is that we've had actually 3 letters in the last. Can we still call them letters? Emails, comments? 3.
You can call them letters, sure.
Yeah. Based on after the fact of last week's conversation, or 2 weeks ago. Sorry, we did take a week off, and we are recording this is Tuesday night, and then we're going to maybe do something at Gallifrey 1. I don't know. Who knows? But anyway, we never know. It's timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly stuff. You just never know. But anyway, we heard from Chris Buckley, who also sent me a poem, which I ran on fanboyplanet.com, about why he doesn't want to watch the Batman. So there was 2 separate emails. One was that, and then one was this. After the podcast, apparently I slurred, or I just misspoke. That's what the politicians would say, and I called it the DC Expanded Universe when it's the DC Extended Universe, because they hope to extend it into the 10 years of mastery of the box office that Marvel had. So he broke down he broke down the different Earths, because we couldn't remember what the Arrowverse had actually numbered at the end of Crisis on Infinite Earths. You and I were both saying, is it 52? Because, of course, in the comics it was 52. But it's not 52 anymore, because there's a dark multiverse, there's a light multiverse, there's a Bud Light multiverse, Michelob Light multiverse. I don't know. Multiverse, I guess, is better if it's Michelob. But anyway, so Earth Prime is the main Arrowverse world after Crisis, which is Arrow, Flash, Legend, Supergirl, Black Lightning, Batwoman, Superman, and Lois, which I still would have to disagree a little bit, because Superman and Lois, if you're caught up with it, is like there are so many things that would be solved by the simple, or that there's the plot question of, Superman, you do have another Kryptonian relative on Earth,
Right.
and her name is Kara Zor-El, and yet the first 2 seasons of Superman and Lois, very clearly she doesn't exist, or no one's mentioning her or anything.
I would love to see the actor who's more into it than the writer who goes, this line is wrong because I have a cousin
and
we could use.
And this is why they can't invite me into a writer's room, is because I'm going, excuse me, but for 5 seasons you had Kara. Yeah, it's just kind of funny. I felt that because the same actress, Jenna Dewey Tatum, Jenning Dewan, that's her last name, who is played Lucy Lane on Supergirl, has reappeared on Superman and Lois, but as a different version of Lucy Lane. So again, you could say certainly Crisis changed things, but this is a little much. Anyway, so there we go. Not to go there. So Chris has decided that Earth 1 is his honorary title for the films originally known as the DC Extended Universe, an unnumbered Earth, but it stands to reason Man of Steel through Peacemaker. I think I'm going to say Hyper Time. That's Earth Hyper Time, because they're going to weave
it's all
in and out.
Hyper Time.
Of course it is, which is why it was silly not to have Hyper Time, but that's me. Earth 2 is Stargirl. Earth 9 is Titans, and I don't know why they jumped to Earth 9, except that I think they had a plan for Earth 3 with the they were possibly going to do the Crime Syndicate variation. I don't know. Earth 12 is Green Lantern, which would be the new HBO show, because they did show that at the end of Crisis on Infinite Earths, possibly including the Ryan Reynolds movie, which is a good point, Chris. We don't know what that is. And if you're watching, of course, feel free to make a comment. I see a few people have joined us. Please feel free to make a comment as we're talking through here, and I'll answer as fast as I can. Earth 19 is the late lamented Swamp Thing. Still no movement on whether HBO Max might revive that, though I know that everybody involved would be happy to return for a season 2 and play out the things
and again, it wasn't canceled because it was a bad show. It was canceled because they got a little queasy about such a dark show
on the DC Universe app, right? I mean, they canceled it the second day of the streaming of the first episode. Yes, so
I would actually argue there have been Doom Patrol and Titans episodes that have been much darker than.
Oh, absolutely! But I think Doom Patrol went a little crazier once it became an HBO Max, and which from the beginning, because DC Universe was an app that was only available in the United States, so it was already on HBO. Doom Patrol was already an HBO show in the rest of the world, which is Earth 21, by the way. Not to be confused with the Doom Patrol that appeared on Earth 9 Titans. It's a separate one. Brian Kent has joined and asked, was it something about a tax credit with Swamp Thing? And that has been debunked. And if you want to listen back to our last interview with Derek Mears, he said he said that too. It had nothing to do with budget and everything to do with what Rick just said. The queasiness, something. Although I've talked to a couple of other people in the industry who are like, what the heck happened, because they don't know, not within DC Universe or HBO, but like somebody somewhere didn't like the idea of doing it at all, and they got enough power to turn it down. So who knows? It happens. Earth 29 has been identified as Naomi's birth world, but that's not the Earth that the show takes place on. And if you catch up on Naomi, who has a new name, right, in comics, she's Powerhouse. She was given a superhero identity finally. Yeah, I saw somebody tweet that. I haven't caught up on Justice League where that happened, but I saw somebody tweet that, so excited there that she has a name. Earth 66, of course, is the Adam West Batman, which I think we said. Earth 76 is the Linda Carter Wonder Woman. And Earth 89 is Tim Burton's Batman films, though I'm going to also go with you, Chris, here, that I think that it's going to get retconned through the Flash movie. That it's very clear that Michael Keaton is still that version of Batman, but now, it's Ben Affleck who will go Bat-by.
Right.
Batty-by? Is that what you would say? Batty-by?
Batty-by.
And Earth 90 is the 1990 Flash series that starred John Wesley Shipp originally. Earth 96, Superman 1 and 2 plus Superman Returns. 3 and 4, I don't believe those films were made. They don't actually exist. Although there were good parts of Superman 3, I'll give you that. Earth 167 is Smallville, which I've heard rumor they're gonna try to revive that either in audio. We don't say podcast, right? They're scripted audio drama.
No, they're calling everything a podcast now, including scripted audio. Although the Wasteworlds things from Marvel are all podcasts.
Wastelands,
yeah. Right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, Earth 203, Birds of Prey TV series, which I think they just dropped a 0 because I think that was the 2003-2004 series season. Interestingly, I gotta say, I can inject a little news because last week they announced they're going to do a show on the CW called Gotham Knights, which sounds an awful lot like the setup, at least, for Birds of Prey, which was that Batman had left Gotham. In this case, they're saying Batman has been murdered, and it's Damian gathering the rest of the Bat family to protect Gotham in a future Gotham City. So it's like they're kind of going back to the well. Once again, for whatever reason, nobody wants to actually make an actual Batman series about Batman.
That works for me, though.
I'm fine with it, and I just got to say, it's sort of like, to me, it's also, do we need any of them? It's a series that no one necessarily asked for, but it could be cool.
I don't know why. I mean, they've done so many Superman shows, right?
Yeah.
But the Batman shows stopped in '66. I mean, as far as TV.
Right, and that's what I don't. And they were shot down from doing that in Smallville. They actually, Smallville began as an episode of a pitched series. It came from a Bible about young Bruce Wayne. And then one episode was where Bruce Wayne would encounter a teen named Clark Kent, who mysterious things were happening around him. And that episode was called Smallville. And, it was, I don't even know if it was ever fully scripted, but they took that out of the Bible and went, we don't want to do a young Batman, because they were going to do Batman Begins, and said, now we'll do Smallville. So There you go. Earth 666, of course, is the Earth of Lucifer. Earth F is, I didn't know anybody had bothered with this. That's the Max Fleischer Superman. Yeah. And Earth X, which was established on the Arrowverse, is the Ray and the Freedom Fighters, which unfortunately never went anywhere. Like that appeared on Legends of Tomorrow, and I think it was a crossover that involved, it was Crisis on Earth X, and they did a 6-episode animated series online on CW Seed of the Ray, and then it never went. It was great. So, I don't know, but thank you, Chris, so far. Go ahead.
So we put Constantine squarely in Earth Prime then.
He is.
Yeah.
But it's got to be a question of whether his previous series
that's
placed there.
I was thinking the Earth 666 almost felt more like the previous series. So
Constantine clearly did meet that Lucifer, because on Crisis on Infinite Earths, Lucifer knew him. So unnamed, but so far separate worlds, and one he forgot to mention was Constantine starring Keanu Reeves. Whatever world that Joaquin Phoenix's Joker takes place in, whatever world Constantine with Keanu Reeves takes place in, Naomi, as I said, I don't think it's Earth Prime, but they're playing with it. There's a question. And then the upcoming The Batman, which, by the way, again, you can read Chris Buckley's guest column on fanboyplanet.com, which is Poet Slams Seeing the Batman. Thank you. I stayed up all night coming up with that pun for the headline. And the Gotham tie-in series, there'll be 2. There's a Gotham PD, still untitled, and a series starring Colin Farrell called Cobblepot that will come out of that as well. Who knows where they are? We assume that the DCEU would also include, as that extended universe, so the Earth One, the honorary title Chris gave it, would include Batgirl, would include the Blue Beetle movie that's being shot right now, and they did start production on that. We haven't seen much, and just announced again yesterday, Wonder Twins for HBO
Yeah,
Max. And
right.
as much as I have a special place in my heart for Wonder Twins, I'm going to go on the record now. What happens is that some executive walked by as some other executive said, like, "Nice job, Wonder Twin powers activate," and they went, "Hey, we own
I
that,
remember
don't
that.
we?"
Yeah.
I don't
Right.
know if, and I hate to say it because I enjoyed the book too that Brian Michael Bendis did with Mark Russell for his Wonder Comics. Is I think that people think they love the Wonder Twins because they love saying Wonder Twin powers activate, and everybody knows that phrase.
Right. Even
I
if they
don't
never
think
watched the
people
show.
actually love the Wonder Twins themselves. So I don't know.
I would.
Anyway,
I'm just a little upset that we get Wonder Twins before anybody incorporates Ambush Bug into one of these shows. And you could even go back to the original Ambush Bug, who was just a teleporting.
oh no,
scoundrel.
absolutely.
And
I am upset, and I think I tweeted that at some producer in the last week or so. Like, where's the Ambush Bug series? I'm waiting for it.
right. Well, why
But
doesn't he show up in one of the Earth Prime shows? Just
you would totally think he would at least fit in Legends of Tomorrow, and they'd be like
totally
absolutely
legend.
comics as to what the hell is that.
Yeah.
I mean, again, and I think we've said this before. When you've got Deadpool, and by the way, we're going to come back to Deadpool, I promise, in this conversation. When you've got Deadpool in the Marvel universe, the character that knows how to break the fourth wall, Ambush Bug should show up in something
Ambush
cinematic.
Bug has an escalator going through the fourth wall,
And,
and
and frankly, a prediction. If they really want to make me happy, if any movie absolutely is really set for Ambush Bug to show up, it would be The Flash. We know so little about it, but we know that it's Flashpoint. But it's funnier than Flashpoint. They're not going to Thomas Wayne. They're going to the classic Bruce Wayne, and they're going to make Michael Keaton retcon having been Batman all along. Well, one character's got to know there were other Earths before, and that would be Ambush Bug. So let's hope.
DC doesn't realize that they have a kid-friendly Deadpool in Ambush Bug.
No. I want to say DC realizes it.
Well, maybe.
DC Films does not. And that's a different thing, and I'm still not sure what the borders are and who's talking to who. But you're right. I don't think he's even shown up in an animated series yet, other than, was he in Brave and the Bold?
I think he was. I'm thinking. I think I've seen a frame of him, an animated cell frame.
Or maybe some artist.
That's a good one to look up.
Some clever artist went, I'll bet I can sell some prints, making it look like
perhaps.
Just paint a celluloid. Anyway, so Bill Bossert, we haven't heard from Bill in a long time. So
Hi, Bill.
I've been busy producing indie films and I guess doing well. So great to hear from you, Bill. He challenges us to which two Marvel and which two DC, he said, shows would we choose if we have to. It's kind of like the Desert Island Disc thing. This is all we can watch over and over. And so I don't have a good answer.
You go first. You've had more time to think about it.
That is true, but and you may consider it unfair, but I don't know. I mean, I think you and I both might have a similar first choice for DC, in that the one show that the DC universe has done that I immediately wanted to go back and watch again once it's done is Peacemaker.
That was my number one.
Yeah. So the two of us agree on that. Peacemaker. Maybe I'll edit a Peacemaker picture over this later.
Are we limited to this list?
No, because you're quite right. I mean, the thing is, if I'm going to enjoy a DC show, I would think it would have to be Peacemaker, and then we open it up. It's Batman 66. I can watch any episode of that show, even the third season, which kind of sucks, and feel great. And I know your mileage may vary to anybody else. That, for me, that's being 5 years old, and that's how I discovered who Batman was. And really even before picking up any comics or the Batman Big Little book, I don't think I even got that till I was 7 or 8, which is Enter the Cheetah, by the way, is the name of the Batman Big Little book. So anyway, yes. So
what's your number 2?
so it would be Peacemaker and Batman 66. For Marvel, I'd say just because I could enjoy it over and over too, because I think I would notice something new each time. The problem with Marvel is you really need to. It's hard to take a chapter out because they are all of a larger thing. But I would have to go with WandaVision. And I'm going to go with, again, for that same kind of sheer joy that I haven't done this, but I wanted to go back and watch immediately, was Hawkeye. And I think I may be the person more surprised than anybody else because I'm not a big Hawkeye fan, but I love that series.
So my number 2 for DC, which I didn't get around to, would probably be a show that I'd be looking for the ones that I haven't watched that much, but really wanted to get back into, and there was enough stuff there. So like I'm tempted by your second choice, but I would probably go with Young Justice.
Okay, and I've only watched a little of Young Justice. That's on my list. I've got to watch.
Yeah,
luckily, I'm not on the desert island without without internet yet. So
Marvel, I'd choose one movie and one series, and just because the one movie that I would probably take would be Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Just because I can watch that movie, and it is pretty much disconnected from everything else that's going on.
Which means you have 2 choices that are James Gunn. So really, could I add this choice that if just everything could be written and directed by James Gunn? And I know there are people who think that's a bad take. I know. I don't want to hear from you, Jordan. I know you don't like him, but I love everything that guy does, even when he fails. He swings for the effing fences.
My second Marvel would be What If.
Okay, which is good. We'll get in there. And before, I love it. So thank you, Bill, for that question. One other comment, and this will then kind of roll into the Multiverse of Madness, which is our main topic this evening, is that Andy Zorio commented on Facebook, is Moon Knight safe for my 5th grader to watch? And I got to say this note, because he said he didn't know anything about it. And, my side is, we got the news, F. Murray Abraham, that is the Academy Award winner, F. Murray Abraham, has been cast as the voice of Khonshu. Great casting. The issue, and it's almost like, it's funny because your wife commented online as well, that Rick tells me it's very different from the 80s version. And I think I've caught up to almost everything but the most recent run. And it is very, very different. Yeah. And I think we had alluded to that. It's I don't know where I'm going to go with it. We started a nice conversation. It's a chance to tackle at least, I don't know how seriously and how deep they're going to go, the issue of mental illness and maybe a mature conversation. Certainly Oscar Isaac and all the press is saying it is. I don't think it's safe. What my advice back to Andy was, like when Daredevil showed up on Netflix, and I don't think really I quite had processed how much, bless you, that it was going to be than any of the Marvel movies at that point, which my son, I think, was in like 5th grade when Daredevil, so he was like 5th grade when Daredevil debuted. Yeah. And I watched the first episode and went, I'm not sure. But we watched the first episode together and then we talked about it. But I would say in the case of Moon Knight, I think it's darker. I think they're going to push crazier. That gets to a whole different conversation we're going to have on a different show about Disney Plus absorbing the Disney brand, becoming so dark. Like, do you realize, hilariously, to some extent, the Hulu miniseries Pam and Tommy is in the rest of the world a Disney Plus offering. And that does not seem very much within the Disney brand.
Which Earth is that on?
What?
Pam and Tommy.
Hulu? Pam and Tommy? That's in, sadly, our Earth, even though it does feature the Winter Soldier and Cinderella. So, that's...
Back to the question about Moon Knight. I think you get this question a lot. I get it. I'm sure you do too. And the question really is kind of wrongly put. It's like, are you just trying to not have to have a babysitter so you can go see it? Or are you trying to take them to a movie that they're going to enjoy? and they may ask to go see a new movie like Moon Knight because they hear it's a
Well,
superhero movie.
series. It's a TV series,
Oh,
and we
TV
talked about
series.
this too. It's hard to keep if they have access to Disney Plus on their own. That
Right.
is harder to block.
Yeah, but still the thing is it a film that they're going to enjoy? And I would say no, they're not going to understand what's going on. You might as well have them watch The Sopranos or something. You know, it's not.
This just in is The Sopranos okay for my 7-year-old to watch? Because clearly
Your
it was
7-year-old?
a Super Bowl commercial. I don't have a 7-year-old.
Right.
Sadly. So I'm going to take this moment. Dave Tapia was very patiently said, "I'm here for the Doctor Strange, aka Tom Cruise couch jumping madness." I think that's a lovely wishful thinking thing that is so deeply inside. I don't think that's who it's going to be. But that's okay. To those that are puzzled by that comment, that was at one point, long before Marvel really had control of their properties. Tom Cruise was very interested in starring in Iron Man and developing an Iron Man film. I think rightfully, knowing what happened to the Mummy, that look, Tom Cruise is a movie star. He knows his image. He gets it. I don't think that movie would have been as satisfying, and certainly wouldn't have rolled over into the Avengers. We wouldn't have had that vision. So, to be quite honest, I'm not interested in Tom Cruise as an alternate universe Tony Stark. Again, I think that for the impact, yes, it would spawn in May, 30 different websites with articles on a titled variation: Tom Cruise's appearance in Doctor Strange Explained. And so I don't want to see it, but it is David J. Fowley. Hey, David, welcome. Jumps the gun on where I promise Rick will vouch. I've got an itinerary here, an agenda. Yes, this is the rumblings of the Illuminati. So yes, we will talk about it. And I have read in the last 2 days 30 different articles saying that trailer explained, and played it over a couple times for myself and gone like, I loved it. So let's get to that point. Is that yes, at Super Bowl we got the Super Bowl of Madness, the Multiverse of Madness got a really good trailer dropped. Exciting, very exciting. First reaction, because you watched the game. I was actually at an early dinner. No offense to anybody who loves the Super Bowl. I'm just like, I don't get emotionally involved, but if you do, awesome. But I don't. So, but I forgot that commercial was going to be played. So, I see online, I'm checking my phone and going, oh crap, so we gotta go home, honey, because I have to go home and watch this trailer now, and I have to post it on Fanboy Planet. So, I guess you would have watched it in the actual moment.
Yeah.
And then I watched after the fact and went, yeah, that was a very satisfying trailer. Many questions raised. Most of which the internet says is the Illuminati, which if you follow Brian Michael Bendis's Twitter account and Instagram account, he almost immediately afterwards tweeted out a photo or a shot of the original drawing, comic book panel of the Illuminati. So he either knows something or he's stirring up crap. But basically, the internet is aflame that the Illuminati, if people don't know, is in Marvel Comics, is a group of longtime Marvel characters who gather to discuss the
fate of humanity.
The fate of humanity, the world-shaking events. It was the Illuminati in comics that shot the Hulk into space, and thus triggering Planet Hulk, one of my favorite Hulk runs in comics. It is Doctor Strange is one of them, right? It's Doctor Strange. It's Reed Richards. It's Professor X. And you may notice I'm naming 2 characters so far that have not appeared in the mainstream Marvel Cinematic Universe, and this is why everybody's losing their crap. Also in there would be Black Panther,
He was only in there at the beginning, and he left because he didn't really think
Right.
what they were doing is right.
And Namor, right?
Namor, yes.
Was one of the original. I
Yeah.
think Steve Rogers was invited to the table, but he didn't like what they were planning, so they mind wiped him. They pulled an identity crisis on him. So yeah, it's and Black Bolt. Thank you, David.
Right.
Fowley just added that it was Namor and Black Bolt.
Right.
But we don't talk about Black Bolt. We don't talk about Black Bolt in the Marvel.
Oh, come now, sing it.
We don't talk about Black Bolt. Now I own Disney. Now I owe Disney money. Thanks.
No, you didn't sing it.
No. Partially, we don't talk about Black Bolt because Black Bolt can't talk. But that's so Black Bolt doesn't talk about us. Anyway, we do have this character in Shadow says it's time we tell them the truth, and everybody says that's Patrick Stewart. And you and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago about how, when we saw Spider-Man No Way Home, yes, there we go. He's not playing Picard, that was the joke that launched 1,000 tweets that I was bored with by the time I read the 1,000th. First of all, people, Paramount owns Star Trek. And sometimes they even know they do. The Paramount, because we get to say Star Trek 4 is apparently back on with the Kelvin cast as of today. They're negotiating to get them all back, but yeah, it's clearly not him. Like in No Way Home, when Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. Strangely though, I don't remember anybody asking Tobey Maguire if he was in No Way Home. Isn't that funny? Well, I don't have any movies to promote, and that's why they kept hijacking at press conferences Andrew Garfield. But they both flat out lied about being in it.
Thank God they did.
Oh, thank God! Yeah, so did Charlie Cox about being Matt Murdock, and Patrick Stewart said he did have a conversation with Kevin Feige about reprising the role of Xavier in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but he felt that Logan had really been the last word that he wanted to have. So I totally get that. But I totally believed that as a reason. But if Patrick Stewart is there, he lied to us. Not the first time that Patrick Stewart's lied, and I'm there for it. And David, you're jumping the gun on me here. Yes, that I do know these things. Namor supposedly shows up, and by the way, I've got to say, David. I don't know how to say he started on Fanboy Planet, but he's got his own brilliant movie coverage site called keepingitreal.com. And so, he was gracious enough to share movie reviews from time to time with us. So thank you. Yes, he is supposedly, we don't know. See, that's the thing. It's another rumor that he's going to show up in Black Panther 2. Makes sense to me, but we don't really know because no past.
You jump back to Patrick Stewart though, and obviously we have a much older Patrick Stewart than the last time we saw him on the screen. The other thing about it is we see so many derivatives and variants on Strange and on other characters in this movie that we could actually get a Patrick Stewart Xavier, who is not the Xavier that we saw in the.
No, absolutely, he would not be. He would not.
Which introduced the idea of variants, and so when we eventually get a new X-Men, they don't have to look anything like the previous ones did.
But let's also say, WandaVision already played that with us too, because we got Evan Peters as who we thought was she recast Pietro, and it turned out to be a guy named Fred Boner. I know his last name was Boner because I just remember going Boner, and so this is there are all these chairs around, so it's got to be. I think it'd be the Illuminati because we also know that we see Stephen Strange looking at a statue of a beardless Stephen Strange. So
there's so much going on in that frame.
Oh God,
the Sanctum Sanctorum, which is the third version of that we've seen in the trailer, with a much bigger thing behind me, behind the statue, and then We've got like windmills going on in the background and greenery growing out of almost all the windows and the stuff behind
Okay,
him.
so this is Hans Brinker Strange. Is that
Yeah,
we're going to see?
sure.
Yeah, he is listed. I put in the trailer in my write up that of course he's going to play at least two versions of Strange, but really he's going to play at least three because there is a Defender Strange
Right.
who appears in a completely different costume. Well, not completely different, but different enough.
Different color schemes.
So that one could be part of the Illuminati.
Defender Strange also has a ponytail.
And I'm for that because I do think the Illuminati's in because somebody's got to stand up against the Council of Infinite Kangs or whatever they call it, the Kang Council, because we know that's going to happen, and
Right.
because that was promised in Loki, and apparently the poster, which I haven't really had time to spend studying, brings in a lot of what if. You see in the trailer the Ultrons. I think there's one that somebody said like it's some site called it Frankenstrange, and I'm like, no, it's the Marvel Zombie Strange. It's so clear, like his teeth are showing up. So he's playing at least four.
Unless he's he could be dissolving in that like the chunky Rubik's
Yeah,
cube Strange.
yeah,
But
but there's a Shield that could be Captain Carter, and
in the poster,
and right, that's what I'm saying. It's from the poster, and so both of them are there. And David comments, "I'm not thrilled to see live action versions of What If." Well, I mean, I will agree to disagree with that. I think that anything
someone
that gets
pointed out that when American Chavez is crashing through the realities
yeah,
in the star, that there's a bit of what looks to be like an animated background behind her
yeah, no,
foot.
I'm fine with that. I mean,
Yeah.
the thing is, you've got the multiverse. America Chavez, who we knew was going to be in it, Xochitl Gomez is playing the role. I'm fine with that. I want to, I don't know much about America Chavez. Let me be very specific about that. I know a lot about America, uh, but uh, but I know that she is from another universe, and the what ifs I could take or leave. If it means we get to see the Watcher, if Watu shows up, that's a nice surprise. That's cool. I almost wonder if it is, and we've talked about this too. Is it too much? Again, we've read comics for an unnumbered amount of decades, and we are used to a multiverse. Uh, does the average audience member really want that or care? That's my only.
Well, I would argue that the average audience member went to school earlier this summer with What If. That introduced
Okay,
so
no,
much of this already.
it was a good setup. Yeah,
Yeah.
we saw a flaming character, and I saw many people saying it's the Human Torch, but I saw a close up. Somebody did the zoom in. It's Monica. It's
Yeah.
Monica Rambeau, but she's got the Kree helmet on. So an alternate universe and I kind of forgot this in all the character development that actually Monica in the comics was the first woman to take the name Captain
Oh
Marvel.
yeah. Yeah.
Because I forgot that Carol didn't become Captain. She was Ms. Marvel, then she became Warbird, and then Binary then
Binary.
Warbird.
Yeah.
I so, but again, for an average audience member right now coming in and seeing something, if they're coming to the Marvel Universe and they're the average audience member, right? They're aiming at that coveted 70 to 25 demographic or 25 to 35. Those people know Carol Danvers as Captain Marvel. They don't know the other history.
Right.
I don't even know what Monica is called in the comics right
The
now.
secret histories.
Yeah, well, no, that's that. Even though Marvel hasn't changed it, it's just like when you go to a shop now, this is who you encounter as the character, so that makes sense. So we might get the Fantastic Four because we did mention Reed Richards is part of the Illuminati in the comics. It would be great. Look, I would love it if Ioan Griffith showed up as Reed, or that they did. This is how they snuck in whoever they cast. And this, by the way, is what I would say is why I don't think Tom Cruise is Tony Stark. There are many people who could maintain an NDA and show up on set and play one of these characters, and you wouldn't know. I don't think Tom Cruise is one of those people who would maintain the NDA because he's bigger than he considers himself bigger than the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah,
So
I tend to agree.
yeah, that's it. And look, if you like Tom Cruise, great. I don't dislike him. I've seen many of his films. I just think that's the reality is the Mummy was absolutely a victim of his ego, and no question. And I don't see why, with the success of the Mission Impossible movies, any other movie that he didn't control wouldn't suffer the same. So
There's a good reason why he doesn't have a Jack Reacher series right now.
he made two of them. He was fine.
Yeah,
I got nothing
the
against
one that's out now, everyone is just anyone who's read those books, they're just going, "This is Jack Reacher."
But whatever, there, as many people point out, there have been all kinds of castings that had nothing to do with. I mean, like again, as somebody pointed out, the great parallel is nobody thought Michael Keaton was going to be a great Batman, and now 32 years later, everybody's going, please let us have Michael Keaton as Batman and the Vulture. Can he play every character in every universe? Anyway, but other characters that are appearing, I think this is interesting, and you know a little more about the Lovecraft and the Cthulhu mythos than I do. But Shuma Gorath, it's very clear that Shuma Gorath is there, but thanks to a Lego set, we know he's not called that. It's not called that in the movie. It's Gargantos, which is a name that Marvel owns outright. Yeah. But I don't remember in my breezing through Lovecraft if Shuma Gorath was actually a name from one of those other books or
make me go to a browser. I think it was.
In which case, I'm sure there's a Disney lawyer who said, let's just make sure nobody anywhere can make a claim. Because Roy Thomas did not give a shit. I've said it. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to swear live.
Well, there's a very notorious Dungeons and Dragons manual for monsters and minions or whatever it is. And it had it had two chapters that were excised after the first. So the first one was the Elric world. And the second one was all the stuff from Lovecraft.
By the way, I just got volume 1 of the new revised Elric today. From Amazon. So excellent. I look forward to diving into that sometime in retirement. But I had to have it. And I got a delay here. Sorry, David. Yes, language. I'm going to look at that. That yes, I know he has a daughter. And she's probably watching this too and just horrified.
Is she 5?
No, she's not.
Is Derek McCaw suitable for 5-year-old?
No. Not right now. I don't know. But anyway, language. No, I know. We just don't have a bleep button, but don't give Rick any ideas. We used to. Have the monkey sound. The eep. That was when we didn't do live. These are the perils. You're going to try to find a way to do it, aren't you? You're making a note. Gosh darn it. Gee willikers with pickles on top, Rick.
Hello, I am the monarch, and I am Kirk.
Yeah, okay. I hope that since I recently talked to Dean Venture there, that Michael Sinter Nicholas, that maybe he's watching the podcast and goes, oh, I appreciate the shout out. Thank you. Yes, he was quoting Steve Rogers from Age of Ultron. But yeah, look, dude, I'm on a roll because he does have another point. Besides Shuma Gorath, I'm going to look to the action figure line. Have you seen the release of two characters we didn't necessarily see, but maybe saw one, and it's been so long since I read the character that I'm not sure if he had an enemy that looked exactly like the one on screen.
Was it a Man-Thing character?
I don't think... Oh, well, no. That's not the one I'm talking about.
Oh, you're thinking about the one who had his own book.
Yeah, I'm talking about the one that had his own book. So let's go ahead and say, if you see... in the Marvel Legends action figure series, so there is a set all labeled Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Every one of them, every Stephen Strange figure looks exactly like Benedict Cumberbatch, or fairly close. America Chavez looks like America Chavez, like Xochitl Gomez. There are two characters there, and there are three. There's the What If Strange. He's called Strange Supreme, I think. There's there's Doctor Strange, and then there's Defender Strange, and then there's the one from Man-Thing, Despair.
Yeah.
D''Spayre, created by Steve Gerber, who I don't think I saw in the trailer, but could be. But the other one, and because I thought that the sequel uh, would be Nightmare, the villain would be Nightmare, and then they decided to go off into the multiverse. And I think there is a Chiwetel Ejiofor figure as well. I think there's a Mordo, and
there is.
and I love that. It's like the point is this trailer tells us that it's almost like Mordo has a point right now. Like sorcerers in the world. Yeah, you're kind of right now.
I told you there was a price to pay,
and it's an interesting twist. But the other character is Sleepwalker, infamously described by Tom DeSanto as Sandman done right.
There's another character. Each one of those packages has part of another character who is Rinta, the Minotaur from
who we saw, though. He is in the trailer.
Yeah.
Rinta the Minotaur is in the trailer, but I think it's
comes disassembled and all the. It's like, I got his arm. Okay.
But this is what I think Strange has gone to, and I can't remember the village, right, from Shang-Chi. I think there's a crossover with Shang-Chi in this trailer. Yeah, I think that's where Rinta is.
It's Kamartai Taj.
Kamartaj. I think you're right. I think that's what they said. I've got to go back and watch that movie because I did enjoy it. It's not Shang-Chi the comics, but it's a fun film, and I love Simu Liu. So this is it does bring up an interesting point, and I'll put David's comment from earlier. Some of the best comics are standalone issues in a run, but we'll never see that in the MCU again. It's all got to be connected, and that's true. I've recently been going back. I'm alternating between rereading Immortal Hulk for something else I want to do, and trying to catch up on the recent run of Eternals. And I've seen people now that it's on Disney Plus. Absolutely roast Eternals. Hate this movie, feeling that it's boring. I didn't think it was boring, but the issue is, I'm going to go along with it. Jack Kirby did not want the Eternals to be part of the Marvel Universe in the first place. And the backflips and the twists that the comics are doing right now to make Eternals part of a larger narrative involving Thanos. I don't remember which. I don't know if it was directly I think it was retconned by somebody other than Starlin that Thanos and Mentor and Eros were Eternals, but they were a rogue faction that had gone to Saturn.
Yeah, that was not in Starlin's run.
Yeah, I don't think it. I didn't think it was. But it's so clear to that point that I know for
they were Titans
for years. For years, we loved every little crumb that they threw that maybe these superheroes in movies lived in a larger universe. When George Clooney said this is why Superman works alone, I freaked out. I'm like, yeah, we can see. And then I saw Batman and Robin and went, no, I don't think I want to see George Clooney with Superman. Because I saw Superman in 3 and 4, and I like to pretend I didn't. That the Superman movies never did actually reference any other character. So I mean, we were waiting for that crumb of crossover, but now we've seen all this. It's okay to let them stand alone if they make more sense standing alone. And I think Marvel's got properties like I wouldn't even know. God, they did try this in the comics, didn't they? Like if Marvel wanted to make Weird World, the Weird World book, the Mike Ploog stuff, that has no real place in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but they have it. It has been. So that's the thing. You want to do Killraven? I don't want Killraven to come back in time or anybody to go forward. Even to some extent, because they kind of blew it with Deathlock. A Deathlock set in the original Deathlock. Say it's a Marvel movie, but it doesn't have anything to do with with anything else. I'm fine with that, even though I've enjoyed Deathlock crossovers in the comics, and we know David Pepos is about to write Savage Avengers with Deathlock hunting down Conan. Which I gotta say again, people buy those books on the stands because, to my dismay, Marvel doesn't have digital streaming rights to Conan comics, so they're not on the Marvel Unlimited app, including Savage Avengers. So Savage Avengers is print, comicsology, perhaps. But which even now there's another issue with that. Apparently, Amazon just rolled
Well,
out a new
if you buy the Savage Avengers print book, you do get the digital issue.
right, but it's not on their
It's not on there.
unlimited.
Right.
And boy, that was my mistake when our friend Chuck Surface texted me and said, "Dude, are you reading Savage Avengers?" I'm like, "I'm going to catch up. It'll be on the app." And then it was not. And so I read the first issues on when I bought, and then it was, I said, "I'll catch up for the rest." I made that mistake. Don't make that mistake that I made with David Pepler's run coming in May, because it's going to be insane. Conan versus Deathlock. Again, we're at this point that we're all just playing with action figures.
It's been an amazing series. Conan hanging out with Doctor Doom.
Yeah,
And yeah, it's just
and you know what? There should be an alternate universe version of Doctor Doom as the Illuminati. That's how they just sneak it in. I don't want.
I thought he appeared in that.
I think he was at one point, because the Illuminati's membership shifted as they needed to. So I would say, if Marvel really wants to blow, and they do, Kevin Feige really wants to blow our minds with the Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Doom is the armored figure. Everybody thinks is Tony Stark, the superior Spider-Man.
Oh man,
the superior Iron Man.
All those Guardian Ultrons are actually Doombots.
Yeah, yeah. Wouldn't that be? I mean, who knows? If it comes true, you heard it here first, people. We are just good. And it's funny, David, because Deathlock could be introduced in a future season of The Punisher. I don't think we're going to get a future season of The Punisher. I think The Punisher is a very problematic character for Marvel and Disney right now. And not because of anything that John Bernthal did or any flaw in the series. I think the real world has made it difficult, and that's why I think we're getting this new redefinition of him in the comics. But I don't think that can separate it out. I think people are, the damage.
Oddly enough, there was just a Kickstarter for the zombie side version of Marvel Zombies.
Yeah,
and Punisher was one of the sculpts they didn't do, and I believe I heard that they were told not to. That they.
I would say we have gone past the point that you're going to sell a Punisher T-shirt at Disneyland, which I did see. They did have it in this little Marvel store across from the Star Wars launch bay, or before it was Star Wars launch bay, it was Marvel. So David, it gives me this piece of gossip. He did. John Bernthal mentioned he recently might come back on a Hulu series, maybe, but I don't think the Punisher is going to be the main character. I just don't think they're going to do anything that makes him the main.
It's going to be a MODOK.
That could be. That would be funny, but I think really they're going to. I don't even know if they're going to do a MODOK season 2.
No.
But they should. But I don't know that they will. But I do think that all those characters, because Charlie Cox has said he knows a little. There are further plans for Matt Murdock. There are further plans for Wilson Fisk. He just doesn't know what they are. I don't know that we're going to return to those shows, but I think the Punisher is going to be recast the way he originally was, because people like to forget that he was a Spider-Man villain, and he was a one-off. Then he was going to be just kind of the recurring villain. And then, holy hell, he got popular. Yeah. And, and then there's that great Mike Zeck, and I can't remember who it was, Stephen Grant, wrote that miniseries, in the 80s. And that got big. And then he got ridiculously big. And as much as I enjoyed reading The Punisher, and I've enjoyed the Punisher movies that I've seen, and John Bernthal's performance, The Punisher, it bothers me to lionize a character like that, because there's just no way around it, which is what, the Jerry Conway, who originally created him, said, he wasn't meant to be.
I was big on The Punisher when it first came out, and at one point there were 2, if not 3 different books a month that had The Punisher.
War Journal and Case Files or something.
And finally, I just one day I looked at the books and I said, this is not a great character to be spending.
No, it's I have a friend, and I don't know if he still listens, Ron Talbot, but he used to write into us, so I don't know if he still listens. That I did a couple of shows with him, and he said like he would not watch The Godfathers, he wouldn't watch The Sopranos because it was just his personal line in the sand. No matter how
Yeah.
high quality these entertainments were, he didn't think there was value in him giving money to an entertainment that lionized a bad
Violence.
guy.
Yeah.
And I'd say anybody who ever goes by the Fredo code, who says like you totally Fredoed me, if you're using these characters as your look, I don't think you're a bad person, but you're a person whose moral code, honestly, I'm not. I don't want to be great friends if that's where you're getting your code from.
It's not a personal fantasy.
No, no, and I've had a couple people say that to me. You know, like you know, it was I knew it was you, Fredo, and you Fredoed me, and I'm just like, okay, well, this friendship's done. All right, and I don't know which one of us won, but if you think you won, cool, and I think I'm just better off. Yeah, yeah. So anyway, you know that's it, and you know, David comments here. It's he's a tortured vet with combat PTSD issues. Yeah, and that story was done right in Daredevil, and then he spun off into his own series, and I did enjoy it. I didn't want to finish it, but I think John Bernthal was the first time that the character made sense to me. But I don't need him, and I don't need him in that tale's been told, and that hopefully that series will show up on Hulu. We don't know because at the end of March, right, all the Netflix series leave Netflix, and this one, sure, yes, I accept this. Michael Goodson shows up in his and says, "I knew it was you, Greedo," and I say, "Yes, all right, you're Han Solo. I'm fine with that." Yeah, I've seen you. Yeah, actually, you wear that vest well. Damn it. So yeah, yeah. So. Anyway, that's it. We got that, and of course we talked a little bit about March 1st. Thank you, David Fowley just corrected me. It's March 1st. They leave Hulu, Netflix, and possibly go to Hulu. I think that Disney Plus has still not quite decided how far, at least in the U.S., they can push their brand. Because it's still Disney. People still, but I would say, obviously some of these Marvel things are pushing. Moon Knight. That's March 3rd. That's why I was thinking Netflix. The Netflix day was March 31st. That's when Moon Knight shows up on Disney Plus, and there's no way Moon Knight is the feel-good, family-friendly thing that Spider-Man and Friends, Spidey and Friends, or whatever it is, the little animated series is. It's not that feel-good thing. I don't know how they're going to solve that because it hasn't been an issue for me, and someone can let me know. Please write in after the fact, perhaps, and let me know if
Yeah.
Disney has an age gate with profiles, because I don't know, because when I gave my son a profile, he was already 15, so for Disney and other family members, my immediate family that share my account, which by the way is above board because Disney allowed that. Thank you for being the streaming service that does that. They're all of age. I'm not going to question whether or not they want to. It's up to them, and I'd go back to what Andy Zoria said. Like, my son did decide both Daredevil and Arrow were both too violent for him at that point. So I don't know. I assume he went back to Daredevil, but I don't know. And then David Fowley says after Moon Knight we get Kenobi, and then She-Hulk. But She-Hulk's being described as a sitcom, so I think it's going to be okay. And
I'm looking forward to that.
Preview, and if you want to get a preview of kind of how that show is going to be run, oddly enough, Marry Me is directed by the same person who's directing every episode of She-Hulk. So, which also, gobsmacked me last week. Marry Me is a graphic novel first. It's actually a webcomic, so it may be the first major film adapted from a webcomic.
And that's out now on Hulu.
No, it's out on Peacock. It's
Peacock, right.
It's on theater. It's in theaters
Right.
and on Peacock, and it's it's cute, it's charming, it's fun. I mean, it's one of those things that you and I have to say. It wasn't necessarily really made for us, but I did buy the graphic novel last week and read it and enjoyed it, and I watched the movie. I made my wife watch the movie, and we both went, yeah, it's fun because of Owen Wilson. He's sincere. I enjoyed it. Clearly, David had a different opinion, and you can read about that on keepingitreal.com. That's with dash in between each words. We agree to disagree, David. That's all right. That's all right. We make the world go round. Friction, money makes the world go round, and that's we'll see how much money it makes. So anyway. What was that? Yeah, that was it. I do want to say, of course, Super Bowl did bring the Jurassic World Dominion trailer, which
Right.
I'm going to say briefly ticks me off because I feel like I'm going to get suckered in again. That every time a trailer comes, I'm like, this is going to be a good movie. And so far in the Jurassic World franchise, I have enjoyed exactly 0 out of 2 of those films. And
0 out of 2.
well,
Okay.
let's say, because they're stupid. Because they do stupid things in them. Not the least of which, this will be my rant at the end. In the second one, what did they call the Jurassic World Part 2? 2 Hours of Boredom, Oblivion, Pray for Death. What was the title? They had a title. Maybe it was Jurassic Kingdom. I don't know. But the fact that they were very blasé about the fact that they had a half dinosaur human clone that just was like a cliffhanger. Everybody went, "Yeah, she exists." Nobody made a big deal. I was like, nobody behaves like a rational person would. Lost Kingdom. Thank you, David. Was the second one, and so
It's
the
Fallen
third
Kingdom.
Fallen Kingdom. So the thing is that for this third one is finally what, like you and I way back when predicted after the first one, that this is the plot of the second one. But
Right.
we were wrong about the plot of the second one, and instead, and you can join us on Sunday. We'll have a panel at a convention, which is, did the film trilogy ruin Hollywood? And because the logical next step was the weaponization of dinosaurs, the dinosaurs overrunning. Actually, that was the logical next step after Jurassic Park 2, which I kind of enjoyed. I don't really remember if I cared about Jurassic Park 3, but I didn't hate it. I don't hate these movies because obviously I go and I watch them, but it's like, it's like saying the Batman. I will see the Batman in theaters, I think, because I have an illness, I have a sickness, people. It's an addiction, but so I go see superhero movies. Look, I paid for Bloodshot, so that's yeah,
Was it worth it?
not what I paid for it.
Okay.
No. But I will say I'm waiting for Venom: Let There Be Carnage to be on a streaming
I'm
service.
probably going to go back and watch all the Venom movies I've never watched. I don't know why. I'm
No,
just
there's only
giving up.
2. I know it's scary that it makes it seem like there've been a lot. No, there's only 2.
Oddly enough, I think my impression of the Punisher movies bleeds over into the Venom movies.
That may be.
Yeah.
That may be. Though it's clear, Fanboy Planet co-founder Michael Goodson proves he has not listened to the podcast. Batmite is referenced in Peacemaker. Yeah, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. The first live action confirmation that Batmite exists. Yes, and I said originally that James Gunn said he's willing to keep revisiting the DC universe as long as they let him. And so I'm all for an HBO Max Batmite series. And he's proven in that really horrible anthology comedy movie that he can do. Well, I guess I shouldn't even say that. He's proven with Guardians of the Galaxy that he can direct a motion capture character perfectly. Suicide Squad too, right? The Suicide Squad, because you got Weasel. Yeah, that he can. Batmite could be handled beautifully by him, and Patton Oswalt could more believably play Batmite than he is Pip the Troll. The CG would be much better on the DC side. As much, for all the Eternals flaws, the one that glares to me most is, did they run out of money creating Pip the Troll? Because that one really just bugged me. Yeah, that looked like Harry Potter fighting a troll in the Chamber of Secrets. I know, people. I think it's an ogre, but whatever. Okay. I think that's it. Thanks again, once again, for joining this, and the people that have watched the live stream. I think it's great to have you. Once again, if you've got any questions, comments, compliments, commentary, criticism, you're watching this after the fact, you can write into editor@fanboyplanet.com. And anything that we talked about, if there's a book or a DVD set, because I enjoy, even Peacemaker, I might buy that on Blu-ray just so I have whatever extras they have to offer me.
They've got to have some crazy extras.
Give me more. I mean, they're including outtakes. I would say after last week's episode that Christopher Heyerdahl, the outtakes of, or it was 2 weeks ago when he was doing all the trying to figure out the smile and they're showing that, like he just shot.
Oh God.
This is a sci-fi actor. Like he's been in so many things that you know him from, but you didn't know who he was. He shot at the top of the list of most talented Chris's in Hollywood, just from all these things and his improvisation. And David, thanks for joining. It's been too long. We actually met up once in person in Chicago. I was in there in a business trip, and he met me in the hotel lobby just so that we could say, we do know who each other are. So Chris Heyerdahl was awesome. But anyway, we are an Amazon affiliate, and if you go through the search box that is at least on the landing page, I'm having a little difficulty with our web host right now. Has broken some of the design elements. I won't name them because I have faith.
The elements of the or the host.
Yes. Have you looked at the site in the last 2 weeks?
I've worked in the site. I asked you if that was the new design.
And not purposely. All I said was, go ahead and optimize the mobile version, because I've seen sites that exist in two different forms, one on mobile and one on web, and they went, okay, we'll just make it the mobile version. And they took away the banner. They took away our branding. So
yeah.
I might edit this out and replace this because I don't want to.
Well, you didn't say who they were.
This is what we usually talk about when we've left
after we hung up.
The stream. But anyway, so you can look at the Amazon. You can if you go through the search box or click on a link from Fanboy Planet and you go to Amazon. Anything you purchase in that session, we can possibly get a small kickback, and I certainly appreciate that. But I do 100% believe in supporting small businesses because honestly, this is a hobby that I can afford. Michael Goodson, this is for the Patreon, but it's going to be very pricey. Fanboy After Dark. Yes, Rick and I do. Yes, no, I was going to say that we do, but you actually went there. I can't believe it. Oh, but I've got my undershirt on. We do a topless version of this live from whatever lounge we went to that Pennyworth party in San Diego. So maybe we'll do Fanboy Planet After Dark from Bacon, Zine Lounge. We might have an in. They can just close the door, and then we just do the podcast.
We need to wrap this up.
Do we? Okay, it's getting worse. All right, so thank you, everybody. And again, I know that there are a lot of conversations happening, and you joined ours, and I really appreciate that. And it was great for everybody who joined. Thank you. And anybody who's watching this after the fact and communicates, really appreciate it. I'm Derek McCaw, Editor-in-Chief of FanboyPlanet.com.
And I'm Rick Brett Snyder, reminding you to...
Let's do it together. Use your powers for good. We'll fix this in post.
I don't think we can.
I know. It's great.